Hey chat, what's up? How you doing? Hope you're doing well. Today we're going to be doing our $10 meals. So we're going to do meatball subs. So I'm going to show you how to make those beautiful cheeky rolls, or subs shall I say. And we're also going to have those beautiful meatballs we're going to do from scratch as well, and also that that delicious tomato sauce, sorry, and then topped off with a little bit of cheese. So we want to sieve our flour because we don't want any unwanted little cheeky visitors in there. So we want about 500 grams with this. And do you know why? Why do you sieve it, chef? That's the reason why. Can you see that in there? See little, sometimes you get moisture in the flour and it'll harden inside the packet. Sometimes it'll just happen and you'll get like little granules there. Can you see that there? Those little bits. You don't want that going into your bread. So super important. Just always like kind of sieve it. You should sieve flour pretty much every time. I know sometimes I don't, which is not very good, but you should sieve it pretty much every time. I want 10 grams of salt and about 30 ml of oil. 2 pinches of salt. So we want about 10 grams, which is there. Perfect. We also want about 30 ml of oil. Vegetable oil, canola, whichever you prefer, is all good. 10 grams of salt, 500 grams of flour, 30 ml of oil. That's in there. Good to go. We're going to weigh out the water. So we're about 280 ml of water, correct? Yes. 35 Celsius or 95 Fahrenheit. We want 2 teaspoons of dried active yeast and about 15 grams of sugar to go in there. 280. $2.83. It's okay. I'll leave this water aside just in case I need to a little bit more, but I very much doubt I will. We want 2 teaspoons of dry active yeast. Let's grab that out. And also we want 2 tablespoons or 15 grams of fine granulated sugar, or as UK folk call it, caster sugar. There we go. Beautiful. So let's give this a mix until this is all dissolved. Get rid of that rubbish. So once that's all kind of dissolved, what we're going to do is pour that straight into the mix. But before we do that, we want to kind of mix that up. And you're going to ask me, like, why? Why do you need to mix that up before adding it? Well, the reason for it, because we've got some like kind of concentrated salt area there. We want to kind of mix it up. The reason for it, if you have too much concentrated salt, it can potentially, doesn't necessarily mean it will, but potentially possibly kill some of the yeast off. So by mixing it up, it's not going to be so harsh on the yeast, if that makes sense. What we're going to do, pour that straight in, and we're just going to give this a nice little mix up. And they should all bind together. If you need a little touch more water, we've got it on the side there, so that's fine. If it's a little bit too wet, you can work with it if it's a little too wet and use like a higher hydration, I guess, but you could always add a little touch more flour if you need to, but honestly, if you keep to these measurements, you should be fine. You shouldn't have any issues. Alrighty, so save that, because we're going to need that in a second. Set that aside, and what we're going to do is just give this a nice good knead for about 10 minutes until it's nice and smooth. So you can see it right now, it's not very smooth. It needs work. You need to stretch that gluten content, build that structure for that bread. So, or for the, shall I say, the subs. So we're probably going to make 2 or, I don't know, are we going to make 4 subs out of this? I suppose we could get 4 out of this, actually. So I would say that is what you're looking for right there. Let me go wash my hands. A little touch of flour. Why flour, chef? Stop it sticking to the cling film. So just a little touch, stop the stickiness. The dough's there, good to go. We're going to put that into proof and until it's doubled in size, so only an hour. So the dough is done. It's ready to go. It's proven. It's going to wait till it's doubled in size. Once it's doubled in size, we're going to knock it back. We're going to shape it into those beautiful subs. And while we're doing that, we can actually make the marinara sauce, or the tomato sauce, I'm going to call it. We're going to grate the cheese, and we can also actually get those meatballs done. Tomato sauce. I need the onion. I don't have onion. I forgot about it. Actually, it's my fault. I forgot to talk about it. I'll tell you what, we can probably make it about the onion. I guess I could use the white spring onions for the time being. For the recipe, it will be 1 onion. I'll put the recipe up tonight, so it will have an onion in it. I just forgot to buy them last week because I thought I had another bag in there. It's okay. It's fine. Oh, also, I got a little bit of celery here as well. I can use a little bit of that. So I'm making some adjustments to it today. But for the recipe, it will be a little different on the website. I'm going to give these a little bit of a wash, and same with the celery as well. Let's dice this up, sorry. Miles away, chat. Miles away. Just going to give this a nice little dice. Right, let's give this a nice peel. So, Chef, why are you peeling the celery? So, if you don't like the stringiness of the celery, give it a cheeky peel. I'm not a big fan of it, right? So I always peel it. I don't like the textures, but I love the celery flavor. So if you're not a huge fan of the textures, you can always peel it. Or if you're fine with the textures, that's absolutely fine. Let's give this a dice down. Watch your fingers as well. So I'm going to go for about 4 cloves of garlic if you want to go for about 6. Probably actually going to go for 6 because these ones are pretty damn small. If you've got a garlic crusher, that's fine. Whichever's easiest for you guys and gals, no problem. So watch your fingers on this. Alright, so let's get a pan on. Just heating up a little bit of oil in the pan. So once that's heated up, we're going to drop the onions. I say onions, right? The garlic, and obviously we've got the celery there. But for the recipe, we'll just have onions and garlic, obviously. Maybe a little touch of thyme. So I'm going to get some thyme out now as well, because I've got a little touch left. Right, I'm going to get some tomatoes out next. So I picked a little bit of thyme on the board. Right, so I'm waiting for that to heat up. I'm just going to slice down my tomato. Skin and seeds included. So let's give this a nice little dice. Anyway, that pan's heating up. Let's get the onion, celery, all those lovely things in there. Right, so those are cooking down very nicely. We're going to give them a little cheeky stir before they start caramelizing or going crazy. So we just want to kind of soften them up first. Right, so you can drop the tomatoes in. We're going to add a little touch of honey. A little touch of cider vinegar as well. Now, why are you adding the vinegar to tomato, Chef? Because it's already acidic. I'm glad you asked. So the vinegar, what's going to happen with the vinegar? It's going to bring up the... pull out all the flavors from the tomatoes. And then because it's quite acidic, obviously with the tomatoes as well, we're going to add a little touch of sweetness for the balance, so with the honey. So that's why we add, almost like you could call it a gastric, though a gastric is usually just sugar and vinegar on the stove. You cook it down and then you add it to your either tomato soup or sauce. Or, but yeah, so that's kind of like a little mini gastric. So it's just kind of balancing it out, so it's not too sharp, it's not too sweet. So those tomatoes are cooking down, they're softening up. I'm going to add the can of tomatoes as well. With that can, we're going to top it up with a little touch of water. I'm not going to go too bonkers with it. Just a little touch of water. We're going to add a little splash of vinegar and a little splash of honey. So 1 tablespoon of honey and probably about a tablespoon of vinegar in here as well. And then we're just going to let this cook down very gently and on a low. So we're going to turn this down to a low heat now. I'm just going to cook this down nice and steadily for about an hour or 2. And then we're going to blend it later on. So let's crack on with the meatballs. 1.5 pounds, just over 1.5 pounds, which was actually really good deal. So sometimes you can find these deals. So we've got our minced beef here. I'm going to crack in my egg, some herbs, a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, salt, pepper. Very simple, very straightforward. Going to ball them up onto a plate in the fridge to set for later. Right, so let's get the egg in there. Right, so a teaspoon of each, oregano and some dried basil. Cheeky bit of Chefy's favourite thing. Oh, Gordon Bennett. If you can't open a bottle, this is what you do, chat. No, not really. What you want to do is just gently tap it on the lid. Not too hard. And it should come off. So, little tips and tricks. Just to loosen the lid. Right. 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. Right, 2 teaspoons of black pepper. What? 2 teaspoons? That seems a lot, Chef. Yeah, no, we've got like 1.5 pounds of meat here, so 2 pinches of salt. This might look like a lot, but it's not going too crazy, so enough seasoning in there. That's good to go. I'm going to wash my hands because we're going to get our hands in there. We're going to give them a nice little kind of mix up. Right, anyway, so that's all bound together. We're going to roll these into the little cheeky balls. I'm going to get some plates out. Put these meatballs in the fridge. Has doubled in size. Look at that, chat. So knocking the air out of it. And then what we're going to do, just fold that little cheeky bad boy up. Right. So. Right, that one's good. There we go. Okay. I'm going to brush this with oil. I'm going to pop these. I feel like it's a little bit too far over. Hold on, chat. There we go. I feel a little bit more happier now because there's a bit more room. So, right, so there's our sub rolls. I'm going to brush them with a little touch of oil. And we're also going to put a touch of cling film just to let them proof nicely. So, a little touch of oregano in there. If it ever comes out. There we go. Shaker, 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 shaker. So, I'm going to put this up for proof in the back room. So it's doubled in size, and it's going in the oven. And this is going to be a very big sub sandwich, chat. But to be fair, we're not doing any garnishes, so that's all you're getting. So you could cut it in half and have one for each portion. So that's good for you. We're using half of that. We're not going to use all of it. So that'll be $1.50 for our cheeky Swiss cheese. So we'll get that out now. Give that a little cheeky grate. Look at those cheeky little bad boys right there. I could have squared these off into 4, but it's okay. We've gone supersized on the subs today. Right, let's get these in the oven. So they're going to take about 20 to 30 minutes. So let's pop them in. Let's get that blender out. Let's make that tomato sauce. I want the salt. Salt, and then maybe a little touch of pepper. Are you ready for this? I feel like you're not. Look at those cheeky extra large subs. That's a little overkill on the subs, I think, chat. Just a little. I say a little, but quite considerable. Alrighty, so let's turn this up a little bit. I don't want to go too crazy hot, but we're going to get a nice bit of color on them. Once we've got the color on those meatballs, I'm going to transfer them to a tray in the oven. Roughly about 10-15 minutes. We don't want to overcook them, but making sure they are cooked all the way through. I don't want to overfill the pan, so let me just do a few in there first to begin with. Get some nice color on them. Then we'll take them out and do a second batch. Oh my goodness me. Oh, so good. Oh my goodness me. Look at that, chat. Look at it. Look how... Oh, baby! Here comes the sauce time. Oh my goodness me. Look at this. Oh, everything's homemade, chat. Even the bread! Even the bread's homemade! Cheese. Swissaroonies. There's no plating with this today, chat. It is what it is, I'm afraid. It is what it is. Look at that. Just a little touch. So we made our meatball sandwiches. Meatball sub. Extra large, which was supposed to be a bit smaller than this. So this recipe can do 4 subs. you need to roll them smaller, half the size. Or if you want to go extra large, make 2 large ones like I did, that's fine. So we made the meat. So the meatballs we shaped salt, pepper. We had Worcestershire sauce in there. We also, in addition, had oregano, dried basil in there. In addition, we have an egg to bind it. If you say breadcrumbs, nope, not a single breadcrumb in there, apart from around the bread, obviously. But I don't ever buy my meatballs or burgers with breadcrumbs. Don't need it, unless it's really sloppy, and can do. One thing I did want to add to it, which I did forget, was a little cheeky bit of mustard in there, but that's okay. It's still going to be very delightful anyway. It smells great. I'm pretty confident we've nailed it. So we shaped them, let them firm up in the fridge, and then we just pan-sear them till golden in the oven, 10-15 minutes till beautifully cooked. Tomato sauce, dead simple. Onions, which we kind of didn't have today, but it's okay. So for the recipe for the tomato sauce, onions, garlic, a little bit of thyme, dice them up, saute them off till soft, add 2 diced vine tomatoes, can of tomatoes, a tablespoon of honey, and a tablespoon of vinegar, and then I put another teaspoon of honey in there just to give it that bit more sweetness afterwards, a bit of seasoning. We blended that up after about 2 hours cooking on the stove for about, 2 hours. Nice and slow on low. And then obviously that cheeky bread that we made with a 500-gram recipe. We did 500 grams of bread flour, 280 ml of water, 15 grams of sugar, 10 grams of salt, 30 ml of oil, and also make sure your water is 35 to 95 Fahrenheit, 35 Celsius. I find that as the best optimization for the 2 teaspoons of active yeast for it to proof. So once we mixed that all together, we kneaded it for about 5 minutes until nice and smooth and soft. Let it proof for about an hour till doubled in size. Knocked it back, shaped it. Let it proof again on the trays. Bit of oil, bit of herbs, cling film, doubled in size, in the oven, 20-30 minutes. Boom, done, easy. Anyway, amigos, thank you so much for the support. Have a great rest of your day. You take care. Much loves, and bye for now, my friends. Take care.